On a game day for Thursday Night Football, Bills, Dolphins, we are your extended pregame show today. And time to talk X's and O's. And here to help us do that, senior producer from NFL Films, Greg Cosell, whose weekly appearance on One Bills Live is presented by Pepsi. Pepsi is the official soft drink of the Buffalo Bills. Food deserves Pepsi. All right, Greg. I don't know what to make of this Miami team just yet. I thought their offense gained some traction last week against the Patriots. Their defense, for me, is a conundrum. I don't understand why their pass rush is not more effective, especially knowing they should be helping a back end that is shorthanded right now. Storm Duck not playing again this week because it's Minkah Fitzpatrick and a bunch of guys, and they need help on the back end. They're not getting it from their front. What has the film told you about their defensive shortcomings thus far?
Yeah, well, the back end is clearly an issue. I mean, right now, I guess it'll be your old buddy Douglas playing at corner with Jones on the outside, and then they'll play the rookie Marshall in the slot. But you're right; they're not really getting a much pass rush at all. In their base front, they go with Chubb and Phillips on the edge, and then when they go to their nickel, they bring Chop Robinson in, and often they bring Phillips inside. And you'd think with those players is they'd be able to generate some pass rush. They've not been able to do that. So the defense, it's one of those games, and you always have to. Steve could speak to this way better than I could because he's probably been through this as a player. It's one of those games where you look at it and you think, how could this team match up to Buffalo? I'm sure a lot of people are thinking this is a 40-10 game. They're at home, and we know the NFL doesn't always work like that. But you look at this defense, and I just look at the back end, and you think, okay, can they really put the brakes on a Bills pass game, assuming the game plays out where the Bills throw the ball? That's not the way the game played out last week.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the Bills were up on the Jets big, and they kind of pulled in their sails, and they started putting some things on. We've been discussing and debating the fact that maybe they put some things on film that they wouldn't really do anyway, anytime, and teams got to prepare for it. It's that kind of game last week against the Jets, and which always pumps up the tires of a team like the Bills and always causes people to take the air out of the Miami Dolphins and their chances. These teams play each other all the time. Certainly the Bills have had their way, and Josh is really good against Miami. They're at home. It's a night game, and there's all kinds of metrics that point towards the Buffalo Bills. But I thought the most interesting thing about this was how are the Bills going to attack a team that they seem to be much better than?
Well, normally the way, and you guys know this, you're there in the building, normally Joe Brady wants his offense to be balanced. I mean, they rarely come out and just toss it all over the yard. That's not really the way they play. I mean, can they do that if they choose? Probably. We know that Josh Allen is capable of playing any style that a game demands. But I don't think they want to play like that. I think they want to be balanced. Look, probably the best thing for Josh about Sunday's game is, other than getting a bloody nose, it felt like I watched the tape and I felt like, gee, Josh, he didn't really have to do very much. He's probably thrilled. His body wasn't beat up to have to play 4 days later. But a team like Miami, and particularly on offense, and Brownie, I'm sure we'll talk about the offense, and a lot of people are down on Tua, but that maybe it hasn't happened a lot against Buffalo, but if he gets into that timing rhythm mode where he can hit his back foot, deliver the ball, they've got speed all throughout that offense, that you can't just assume they're not a good offense. Now, I think that they're a little out of whack with their run-pass ratio. I mean, last week in a close game all the way, pretty much against New England, they had 37 Tua dropbacks and just 12 carries by backs. I don't think they can play that way. And that surprised me with Mike McDaniel, who's really a good run game orchestrator. But, they can hit Tyreek Hill on a slant or an inbreaker, and he can go 70 yards on any given play. You got to be careful. This is not a team you can just fall asleep on.
Yeah. Right. Two-part question with regard to Miami's offense. Part one, what has been the biggest sticking point in their either A, unwillingness to run the ball, or B, effectiveness in running the ball? Is it the fact that, the right side of their offensive line are backups right now with James Daniels and Austin Jackson on IR? And then B, each of the first two defenses they have faced have adopted a method that Sean McDermott and his coordinators have come up with over the years against Miami, which is to clog the middle of the field between the numbers and force Tua to throw outside the numbers, knowing he is not an elite arm talent. It looked like the Colts and the Patriots did that a lot here in these first two games with some measure of effectiveness. So,
Yeah.
part one, the run game. Part two, clogging up the middle of the field.
Yeah, I can't speak to what's in Mike McDaniel's head, but I think that Tua is not the kind of quarterback that you can ask to drop back, 40 times all the time. I just don't think you can do that. And we'll see. We'll see how they come out and choose to play on the road, because I would think the last thing they would want to have happen is, in Buffalo to all of a sudden be down 17-3. I would think they want to try to somehow control the pace and tempo of this game. And you do that more running the ball than throwing the ball. And you make a great point about when I watched the tape this past week against New England. Mike Vrabel and his defensive staff, they had 2 rushes in the game, Brownie, of 5 guys. Every other drop back, they had 7 in coverage, high percentage zone, because what are you trying to do? You're trying to minimize and close down the windows. That's what Tua is. At his best, he's a window thrower with great timing and anticipation. You want to close down the windows. They did a pretty good job. Now, Tua did not have a bad game last week. He started off struggling a bit, where he wasn't seeing it exactly the right way, or he just wasn't processing it exactly the right way. But he sort of settled into that game. He kind of settled in. He played too fast mentally early, and he rushed through his reads. But he settled in. So, like I said, you can't take Tua for granted here. I mean, they can hit big plays.
Yeah, and that's really what you're afraid of. What are the Dolphins doing to try and generate those? Certainly Tyreek has, it's been talked about a lot how he has
Right.
not hit for big plays lately. Waddle,
Yeah.
although he's a question mark and he's going to try it out to go tonight. How have Miami been trying to disperse their personnel to take advantage of these defenses where they're clogging the middle and, only sending a handful of rushers?
I mean, well, then you get into, and again, Mike McDaniel knows his quarterback better than we do, but then you get into what can Tua do? Is this, in some ways, I think his career guys up to this point has kind of suggested that this is who he is, and there's really not a whole lot more to him. When it looks good, boy, they look really good. When he's hitting these kinds of throws that we're looking at right now, then Hill has run after catch. It looks really good. It looks so comfortable. It looks so easy. If Waddle can't go, I mean, A-Chain will probably be involved more, trying to get him on the perimeter, just getting him in space. But I'm just not sure there's a lot more you can do with Tua. He's really good at one thing, but he's pretty narrow in what that is. There's not much more he can do beyond that.
Flipping it over to the Bills on offense, and I realize it's only a 2-game sample here, but we've really seen Joe Brady lean into heavy personnel even more.
Yeah.
By my count, I've got 53 total snaps in the first 2 games where they are using either 21, 22, 12, or 13 personnel. They have some combination of a fullback and a tight end, or 2 or 3 tight ends on the field, and they have really leaned into this, Greg, and it has worked for them, even when the opponent knows what's coming, most notably the Jets as the most recent example. How far do you feel Joe Brady will lean into that regardless of the opponent week to week?
I would expect that they'll try to lean into it, and unless the game dictates otherwise. Now, obviously, I don't think Jackson Hawes will play 35 snaps every week. I'm sure the nature of the game against the Jets, it indicated that they could do that. But I think all this is part of how they want to play. Don't forget, they can still throw the ball out of base personnel groupings. So it's not as if it's an automatic run. They can still throw the ball. One thing I thought they did last week, which I'm curious to see if they'll do more of, and they've done it, through the years, but getting Josh out on play action boot and then getting the ball to a tight end, let's say out in space a little bit. I think that's a good concept for them based on the run game element. So I would think that Joe Brady, for the most part, would stay with it. Now, again, what we don't know is how he sees particular defenses that they play against. Look,
Right.
we talked about the fact that the Dolphins right now are really struggling on the back end. Who's to say they don't come out throwing the ball tonight, try to go up, like I said, 17-3, and feel like, hey, not that they put the game away, you never put the game away till it's over, but feel like, hey, now we make the Dolphins play a certain way and we can control that. So you don't know. But I don't think, I guess what I'm saying is I think they want this to be a major part of their foundation, Brownie. I don't think
Yeah.
that last week was an aberration.
Right.
All right, so we know them so well, this Bills team, but their offensive line is the same five guys, has been the same five guys almost for 3 straight years. How are they playing?
I think they're just a really solid group, and this week in the run game against the Jets. And by the way, the Jets don't have a bad D line, but they really control the line of scrimmage. I mean, for the most part, Cook was not hit. I mean, maybe there were 1 or 2 plays, 3 plays, but for the most part, he got through that first level to the point where he could have sustaining runs. I mean, and every time I watch Cook, I'm really even more impressed because I really liked him coming out of college, but I didn't think he could be this guy. I mean, he gets hard-earned yards. He's not just a fast guy. He gets tough yards. You wonder with his body, can it hold up over the course of a whole season? Just because obviously he's not 220 pounds, but he's not just a little scat back by any stretch of the imagination.
And what do you think? We've already talked about the secondary for the Dolphins and how shorthanded and inexperienced they are. But what about at the second level there? I mean, Tyrell Dodson, I would not call coverage a strength of his. I don't know if I would say that about Jordan Brooks either. And their nickel, as you mentioned, is a rookie out of Florida, and Jason Marshall. Could this be a day where, you just mentioned bootleg tight end pass game? I'm wondering if this could be a big game for Kincaid or Knox or somebody like that in light of the second level defense for the Dolphins.
I mean, I'm just going to tell you from tape and what other teams think that if you're starting Dotson as a linebacker and he's playing every snap, then you're not as good as you need to be at linebacker. You saw that in Buffalo. They cut him in Seattle because they just didn't think he was good enough. They cut him in the middle of the season when they ended up putting in a 4th-round rookie to replace him. So, just being honest with what the tape shows, that's the reality. So they're not quite as good as they need to be at the linebacker position. I think Brooks is a good player. He's a better run player than he is a pass defender, but he's a good player. He's a true quality starting stack backer. Dotson is really a backup.
Yeah.
Right.
Greg, thanks for all the insight. We appreciate it. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll catch up with you next week.
Looking forward to it, guys. Have fun. Thanks.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, thanks, Greg. Bills Mafia, it's tailgating season, and there's nothing better than an ice-cold Pepsi Zero Sugar to pair with your tailgating food rituals. As the great Josh Allen once said, Bills fans deserve Pepsi. For the home opener, Bills Mafia brought it, and so did Pepsi. They kicked off the tailgate season the right way, and they expect to keep it rolling through the rest of the year. Bills tailgates deserve Pepsi. Go Bills. So start tipping them back early.
Yeah, it's gonna.
I like the Zero Sugars.
They're great.
They taste more like regular Pepsi. So if you can't sweat the calories, you're an older person like us and your metabolism is slowed down to an annoying level, and you want the taste of regular Pepsi, Pepsi Zero Sugar
Zero
comes
is good.
very close.
It's very good. Yeah.
Comes very close to original Pepsi.
You'll see it. You can feel in our commercial breaks, we walk out and talk to the control room, go out in the foyer. It's starting to shift gears outside the stadium now, where it's getting after lunch now. People are starting to
amping up,
moseying on over.
Cutting out of work early.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of turning into an atmosphere out here already. So it's going to be a fun afternoon and evening.